I am here just a couple minutes early. We're gonna wait till 2:30 to actually start painting. I just kind of sometimes like to get my overhead shot set up, make sure that I can see everything on my screen. And let's see here, get this open over here. Hi, Tammy. So I got a few people in here. Feel free to say hello. If you're comfortable where you're watching from, don't be too specific, obviously, for privacy reasons, but sometimes we get people from lots of different countries and things like that. I am gonna go out on right away here and tell you that I have been fighting a little bit of a cold, so I'm a little stuffy. I'm gonna be pausing to take drinks occasionally today. I'll try to kind of do it to the side so you don't hear it. We are going to do 20 rocks is the goal for today, to start off our Halloween rocks. Are you guys in here? Is this live? I feel like, yes, okay. I see it's updating here. My screen here is not, I'm not seeing live on my iPad. The comment just popped up, but I can't see on my actual screen. Okay, there we go. It's just a little bit of a lag, but that's okay. I can still at least see that I'm in the screen. That's what I'm going for. I can see the chat. Hi, Tammy. Yay. Okay. Yes. Halloween rocks. You guys all know I love them. It's something that I have done now. Let's see here. So this is my 5th Halloween at this house. I've done it every year here. And I think I did it, I think 2020 was the first year that I had quite a few. I've always done a couple Halloween rocks just to hide around during Halloween season, but I started doing it for the trick-or-treaters 2020, maybe it was 2021. But either way, the goal, as always, is we are going to be doing 101 rocks for my trick-or-treaters in the neighborhood. There are quite a few. They go through them so fast. We have a really cool thing here in our town that trick-or-treating is for 2 hours. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. So it's so cool because 6 o'clock hits and these streets are just literally littered with kids in an instant. They come to my house so fast. Hi, Sally. Oh, oops. Yep. Take care of that first. This is a little bit more of a slower process just because I'm going to be doing multiple of each rock that I'm going to be painting today. I'm going to do 5 of each thing that I'm doing. So this is a longer style thing. If anybody's joined in on our Halloween rocks before, I know some people like to paint along because it's real time. Let's see here. And I just noticed now that my camera is not showing the bottom part of my rocks. I just put 5 rocks up there. I can only see 4. I'm going to pull you back. Don't look at the screen if you get seasick or wobbly sick. I'm going to try to get you guys a little bit higher here. Ooh, sorry. I hate doing this while I'm live, but we might just have to deal with what we've got. It's a little bit better, a little bit higher up. It won't stay that high. If you guys could see the thing that holds my phone, it can get a little wobbly, but we'll just go this way instead. How about that? So, as I've been chatting about for a while, hi Roxanne, I got some new pens. I've never purchased Toolyart pens before. This will be my first time ever painting with them. As you can see to the side here, I kind of made myself a little swatch here of the jewel tone ones. So I got those, and then I also bought a bunch of the double end ones. They have ones that are fine tip on one side, dual tip, I guess is what they call them. Fine tip on one side, extra fine tip on the other side. So you can't see my swatches over here. I did all of them but one over here, and you can kind of see the difference between the fine tip and extra fine tip here. I am going to show you how to prime a paint pen. I was going to do these live, but it just didn't end up happening. So I said, you know what? I'll go ahead and keep one to prime with you guys live here, and then we will start. I am using a combination of rocks. I've got these ones. So I did share like my list of things I bought this year because I kind of wanted to start from scratch. Like I have so many odds and ends supplies, but I just wanted it to be more, here's what I have. This is exactly what you can buy. So I'm doing white rocks, and I also grabbed some of these. I don't have the bag. Let me grab the bag. Still in my kitchen from when I was rinsing them off. So these are, I don't think I can get this underneath the camera very well. These are the Lifetop brand rocks. These ones are on Amazon. These ones, the bag kind of looks like that. Sorry, I can kind of get it in there. It's the brand. They're in the Amazon shop. This was a bag of 50 piece medium size. So they're 2 to 3 inches. Before I bought the 50 pack and it had medium and small rocks. So I just went with the all medium 50 piece bag this time. And I'm very happy. They are really great. They're all like larger. They're a good size. So I've got, you know, larger canvases and smaller canvases, white and dark, so you can kind of see what we're using. So if you get yours from the beach, A, be careful, make sure it's not illegal, but B, jealous. I know there are some places where there's just mounds of them and it's not illegal, and I just do not have anything like that around me to get them just right off the beach like that. I know by some of the Great Lakes, people have sent pictures and it's like, oh, I'm jealous. So we are gonna start with the white ones. We are gonna start with something that we have done multiple times after we prime this pen. So the dual tip pens. The thing I'm very impressed about already with these Tooly-Art pens is they actually put in a very nice kind of pamphlet insert that really describes like how to problem solve, how to prime your pens, and look at all the different colors they have. You guys, they have so many colors, so that could be dangerous, but they are a very affordable price for paint pens, and they do actually even come, so the dual tip pack came with this, they come with extra nibs. Now you will notice though, so these ones are not reversible like the Posca pens, but you have all these extra ones in here, so I think that more than enough makes up for it. And then the jewel tone ones I got were all extra fine tips, so that's these right here. So you can be a little bit more, you know, wild with your pens, for lack of a better word, if you want to. We're in Long Island. Nice. You're good, there's plenty. That's awesome. So we're gonna prime this one. So the first thing you always do with new paint pens is shake them up really good, okay? I already kind of gave these all a little bit of shake, but I'm gonna just, you know, just for sake of showing. And then you're gonna take off the tip and you're gonna, what we call burp the pen. So you're gonna hold the tip upwards towards the sky and you're gonna press down. Sometimes you'll hear a burst of air, sometimes you won't. I do it on every pen and I'm gonna do it on both sides of this pen. That one didn't really burp very loud. I know if you guys have watched the lives quite a few times, you definitely have heard that happen. Some of them do. I think it's something that happens with pressure when they're shipping. And then you're going to press the paint pen, and I know this isn't the greatest angle for showing this, but you're just gonna pulse the paint pen into the paper. And I just kind of push down, lift up. I'll hold it down a little bit and lift up. And I just continue doing this until I start to see the paint flow, and I'll kind of lift it to the side so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. When you start seeing the paint flow down into the tip of the paint pen. So see how you're already seeing it kind of come down here? You'll see it all the way at the tip and kind of coming down, but we want it to saturate that tip all the way. So just kind of hold it vertically until it's all the way down. See how it's completely filled the tip? Just that easy, just like that, boop, 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 okay? So we're gonna put the cap on that side, flip over, we're gonna do the other side. I'm gonna burp again just in case. And same thing, I always press nice and lightly. I'm not trying to use too much pressure. I know we have the backup tips, but I still don't want to just ruin these. It's like the only thing about my chat box over here is there's a little heart in the bottom right hand corner on mine, and so like it covers up the bottom one. All right, so again, same thing. See that paint all the way down in the tip there? Now on this end, it doesn't saturate quite the same. The tips are a little bit different. They are kind of more of a plastic, and the other side is a little bit more of a felty cloth type texture. So it doesn't actually saturate exactly the same. Do you see that? There's a little bit of a difference, but once you see that paint in the tip, don't pulse it anymore. You don't need to. It's gonna go ahead and go. What number is this? This is number 2. All right, so we've got our whole pack. These ones were the essential colors. And I have to say, overall, I'm pretty satisfied with them. The only thing I think it's kind of lacking is I love this yellow, but it's more of a golden yellow to me than like a pure, true yellow, if that makes any sense. But definitely not a reason to skip over. I have to say I do like the variety of colors that comes with this. It even has the silver and gold in there. It has a really nice kind of peachy, you know, fleshy tone in there. So lots of ideas of things you can use with those, but we're just gonna move this off to the side now that we have done that, taken care of that, and we are gonna start painting, I promise. Let's see here. So we're at 2:38. I just really wanted to make sure that we were after 2:30 before we started painting. So today we are going to do some cute pumpkin rocks. We are gonna do some skull flower rocks. We are going to do a few monster rocks. And then the new one I'm doing today is I'm gonna do these boo rocks where the O's are eyeballs. So you can see my little sketchy here, something along this line. I haven't really brought it all the way full circle, but we'll get there. Sometimes I just play when we're doing these lives like this and just have fun with it. So I'm thinking, I'm trying to kind of match up two tones for, I love these jewel tones. They're very like fall. And last year I did a lot of pastel colors. So I'm kind of leaning towards using a lot of these kind of moody colors is kind of how I look at it. They're jewel tones, but I don't know who Stacy is. Oh, the postcards are individually wrapped. I know, and you have to twist the plastic. It can be a pain. These were not. They were in a box. Yeah, they were pretty easy. I got through priming them pretty quick. So let's just jump into doing some cute pumpkins, and we're just gonna pick a first color here. I'm gonna go with this really cute orange. I mean, why not? Maybe we'll do the red, orange, and orange here. That's the same thing here. And these jewel tones, I guess that's probably as close to yellow as we get. This one is very almost olive color to me. There's not really a yellow on here. So all these are primed, they're ready to go. Now these are extra fine tips. So if you have larger paint pens, you can use larger paint pens for filling things like this, but we're just gonna go with it. I'm gonna use the side of my pen. I'll show you how I kind of preserve the tip when I'm not doing something that has to be completely pointed. So the first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and just put an oval on our rock. And if you've followed the channel, you know how I like to build my pumpkins. We do an oval with an oval. Now these rocks are not primed with anything. This is just the color of the rock. And you'll notice, so with extra fine tip paint pens, they have the harder tip. And so they can splatter. I've had people reach out like, how do you keep your pens from splattering? So if you have to press hard to get your paint on your rocks, they're not primed properly. It should go right on your rock. You should not have to worry about it. And now I'm gonna use, let me see if you can kind of see this. I kind of like this. I'm gonna turn it to the side like this, okay? And I'm gonna use sort of the side of the paint pen. Can you see that I'm doing that there? Just to get this paint on the rock without wearing down my tip a lot. And you can kind of cover a little more surface as well using these extra fine tips, just like that, okay? I'm sitting at a really weird angle right now to try to show this to you, but see, I'll do it this side so you can see, look how wide I can make that one single stripe. So don't go trying to fill in with an extra fine tip using the tip up and down like that. So we're just gonna go ahead and fill this all the way in, and then we're gonna pick a couple more colors. And once you have your basic pumpkin shape on here, you can make it bigger or smaller. Like I feel like I've got actually quite a bit of extra space on this rock, so you can go crazy with your vines or you can make it bigger. Once it's on there, we're gonna make this one bigger. I'm just gonna show you how. You just take, we're just gonna go wider this way. And we'll go a little wider this way. And now we're using up a little bit more of our rock. Okay, just like that. All right, and we'll see how this dries. I don't want to go over it too much if I need another coat. So we're gonna leave that guy to the side there. And you know what, I'm gonna pick the next color just right off the cuff. And if you guys have a color you'd like me to do a pumpkin in, drop it in the comments. So you can see the numbers here, all of them up here to the left. So if you want to pick a color you would like to see for a pumpkin, let me know. Maybe I'll do a pink pumpkin. I'm gonna do number 16. So I'm always kind of just make sure it's flowing before you go to your rock. And then we're just gonna go on here. And you do not have to make the full ovals. It's just, that's how I show it. I mean, you obviously are filling it in anyways, but once you see it broken down that way, I just feel like it's an easy way to make a quick pumpkin. Obviously, you can make more detailed pumpkins. These are just supposed to be cute, sweet, and easy. That's kind of the goal of almost all of my rocks for Halloween, is to keep them simple so that I can do batches of them. I mean, we're talking about 101 rocks, okay? And if anybody else is doing them for trick-or-treaters, just, that's my only tip that I always tell people, is just keep it easy. See, that bottom looks ridiculous. So we're just gonna make the bottom over here come down lower. This is why I like to do these lives with you guys. You can see, when you visually see something wrong, it doesn't mean you can't fix it. Most things you can kind of play around with. There we go. That color covered really well. Now see how my left side sticks out a lot further. So we're gonna come back over here and make this side just a little bit wider. Just zhuzh with it. I mean, if you've ever gone and shopped for pumpkins, you know they are not perfect, right? All right, is number 9 teal. It is kind of a bluish teal color. It's funny because the names they have on these are quite silly. Oh, you know what? I should have probably left that out. Which one did I just do? 16. I'm gonna keep these to the side so I don't forget which ones I did in case I need a second coat on these. Should we do a number 9? I think I'm gonna do a number 9. I was looking at the names on these, and there's some interesting names. Chrysaline, that's the name of this one. None of them are actually called teal. Look at these names. I'll show them to you. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce all these because some of them are very interesting. You could take a screenshot. I don't know, can you take screenshots on lives? Hi Donna, we're just getting started. Don't worry about it. We're literally still working on our first round of rocks here. All right, we're gonna do this really cool blue. This almost looks like a denim color to me a little bit. There is one, I think 8 maybe would be a little bit more teal. This is looking a little more blue now that we're putting it on the white rock. But it's pretty. Now I did have a couple people mention on my post when I share, because I share these are the ones that I do year after year, the favorites. People are like, oh, I liked it better before you put the face on it. Then you can do them without the face. You don't have to make the faces on them. I kind of add the face. I think the kids really like them. It gives them just that like cute cartoon look to it. You'll notice my rocks in general are not really spooky. I was thinking teal, blue was for, so the teal pumpkin project, I think is probably what you are referring to. And that's funny because on the kids craft site that my sister and I run, we actually have quite a few things about that. So the teal pumpkin project, if you put a teal pumpkin on your porch, it means you've got some sort of non-candy treat. It's like allergies. It can be any different thing. It just means like you have another option. It's not all candy at your house. And that actually was what I started doing. I put my teal pumpkin out, and then I would always have something. These dry really nice and fast. Look at that. They dry really nice and fast. But I put my pumpkin out. That way kids know, hey, I've got something else for you. It's not all candy at my house. There's a lot of kids that have a lot of food allergies these days. So I'm gonna go with number 13 here. Have a purplish tone. And then if anybody wants to pick the last color, the first one in the comments that I see, I will use for that last one. I do really like these colors. They're very, I don't know, like kind of slate, subtle. This one's not quite as here. So see, if it's not flowing to the point where you saw how the other ones were going, so now we have something to compare to. If you're just joining in, this is my first time ever using this brand of paint pens, but I'm telling you, they are all over the rock painting community. Everybody has such great things to say about them. I just haven't needed to buy a whole pack of pens. I really probably didn't need to buy these either, but I thought, you know what? Why not? It's time. Have you already done color number 1? This one? No, I did not do that one. We can do that one. That one's kind of like a olive green. So we'll do that one next. I guess I didn't realize the other ones were out of the picture. There we go. And just use the shape of your rock to decide how big you want these to be. I mean, this design can be huge, it can be tiny. I've done itty bitty ones like this. And again, I'm using the side of my pen to fill in. It helps fill it in a little quicker and preserves the tips of your paint pens just a little bit. All right, let's see here. Pull these down. These are the ones that we've done. And then we're gonna go to number 1. Okay. And then we have to decide what color we're gonna do for our stems. Ooh, that's cute. I do like this. Am I in the screen good enough here? Yeah. I have a little bit of a delay on the iPad over here, so occasionally I have to pause when I place something down to make sure I'm actually in frame. This is actually, I guess if you're gonna do like a jewel tone yellow, this is actually pretty accurate, I think, because you wouldn't be bright. It looks more yellow now that I have it down than green. Then we're going to kind of peek over the top of them and decide if we need a second coat on any of them. The pink, I don't know if it necessarily needs a second coat, but I definitely have some gaps in here where I just kind of whiffed a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of go in here and clean that up just a smidge. There we go. Now, I don't mind if you work your lines in the direction that like the pumpkin would be. It kind of looks a little bit better even if you can see lines in your finished product. That way if it does show, they kind of go in the direction of the pumpkin. So I'm just kind of going back over this one just a little bit. Okay, the other ones look pretty good. I'm gonna let these dry just a bit. And I have to decide what color green I want to do. I think I might just go ahead and use the green that comes with this set, this number 6. I'm gonna actually doodle that just a little bit bigger over here on the paper. I think that would look nice. I don't know, you can't see that. Sorry, my little doodle sheet's off to the right here a little bit, but. So where's a nice dry one? We'll start with a nice dry one. These ones are lovely. We'll go here on our bluish colored one here. Now when you're putting the stem on your pumpkin, you're going to follow the arch at the top of the pumpkin. Okay, ooh, that's really coming out. Right, and then you're going to make a line smaller than down here at the top. Like that. You can always make it bigger. It's harder to make things smaller, okay? So start with the small, and then we're gonna curve back in and then attach. So back in and attach, and if you want it a little bit wider, you can, but as you can see, it kind of figures itself out. That was really flowing. That one was really flowing. So I'm gonna wait to have my curlies on that. We're gonna let that dry a little bit. I will give you my 100% honest feedback with these guys when it's all said and done. And it's funny because it's so far, and this is the same with every brand of paint pens I've ever used. Certain colors work differently. And I think it has to just do with what they use to pigment paint. And I guess as you can see, I kind of always do my top at a slight angle. guess I didn't notice I did that until this third one. I was like, huh, I'm doing that. Depending on your rock is how tall you can make your stem. Stems can be very short and stubby if they need to be. All right, made our way all the way around. And these look very wet to me right now. This green went on very wet. So we're gonna let those dry a little bit. Again, you can just have pumpkins like this if you're going for a fall thing and not necessarily Halloween. Just leave them like this. You can come back and do some lining. These are extra fine tip. I couldn't find them in fine tip. I saw extra fine tip and medium tip, and the mediums I don't use very often of my other pens, so I thought I'd go extra fine. Donna, I'm so glad you tried the Jack and Sally heart. I really, really like that one. It came out so cute last year. So let's see, where can I set these? We're gonna set them to the side so people joining in can see what we've been working on. See if most of these will be in frame if I leave them over here. While these dry, we will go on to something else. So for our monster rocks, we'll use the bigger paint pens. I am gonna leave this little set off to the side of the colors we used so far, just because if I need to touch up anything, that way I know what I used. So I'm gonna use the darker rocks for our monsters. And if you've followed along, you know I love my monster rocks. I call them my little grumpy monsters. So we're gonna do 5 monsters. Again, the colors are off to the side here. Hold on. My camera is close, but I know when I have it up high, you can't really see very well. Let's see here. I'm just gonna move, if we're gonna use these colors, I'll just move this to the, you see this? Let's see if you can see that. I've got quite the delay here, you guys, so I think that's gonna be in frame. So if there's a color you would like me to do a monster in, shout it out. I am going to start, we're gonna start with an orange monster. I mean, that's a classic Halloween color, right? So I'm gonna use actually the larger side, the larger end of our double. Again, these are the dual tip ones. I did go ahead and add both of these sets in our shop. So if there's anything that you see and you like, so this is very dry, I think, yeah, okay. So doing monster rocks, the beginning, we're just basically covering our rock. Just kind of scribble it on there. It might take a couple coats. Again, make sure your paint's flowing well. It should go on your rock with ease. This is going on pretty good, I have to say. So you do not need to have a straight edge for these, so you don't have to worry about it being neat and clean. I always think my monsters are kind of furry, is the way I kind of describe them. When I do my lining, it's like a furry lining, so don't even worry too much about it. Having a nice solid edge. Having a rough edge just gives you kind of areas to work with. We're gonna get a coat on here, and it looks like I'm gonna need a second coat on this, so I'm not gonna be super specific. Whenever I notice a paint pen, you can kind of tell right away that you might possibly need a second coat. So if you know you're gonna need a second coat, leave it on nice and thin. It's easier to get the second coat on when it's dry, so especially since I'm live, I'm gonna leave that to the side and let it get dry. So let's see here. Let's do, I really do like this yellow. I don't know how that will show up on the rock. Let's do this blue. I kind of like this blue. It reminds me a little bit of Sully from Monsters, Inc., right? If anybody's seen Monsters, Inc. So we're just gonna scribble it on here. Now these you could obviously really easily do with acrylic paint and a brush as well. I always say, like almost all of the designs, it's very rare that there's a design that we do that you could not do with acrylic paints and a paintbrush. I just like the ease of being able to bounce around colors, not having to put a bunch of paint on my palette. Just like that. So you're just kind of covering, again, leave those scruffy edges. That's gonna work for us for when we're doing our lining in a little bit. All right, let's see, what other color should we do for our monster here? Let's do a green monster. We'll do the dark green. Maybe we'll do a dark green and a light green monster. Now I literally just shook all these up and primed them like less than an hour before I was getting on here today. So normally before you pull a new pen, if you haven't used it in a while, just make sure you shake it up really good, doodle on paper, make sure it's flowing. This green covers beautifully. Look at that. Can you see the difference between that and the orange? And again, it's got to be how they pigment paint. I do not know the scientific part of that, but that's the same with a lot of different brands. Yellows and oranges, very often you're gonna need a second coat, but like green, purple usually covers like a dream as well. Maybe we'll do a purple one next. See if that holds true. Okay, just like that, green. All right. Is anybody actually painting with me today? I know we have at least 1 or 2 people that usually paint with me. Drink break there, guys. All right, let's do the purple. So only thing, I have to see if there's a spot where it says which end is which on here, because I keep opening. Oh, okay. So that's the fat end with the white side. I'm constantly taking off the wrong side first on these. Purple goes on great. Right under the rock here. And all I did with these rocks is I rinsed them under warm water, just kind of rubbed them against each other, rubbed them between my hands, just get the dust off of them first. I mean, I think that's probably the main thing that you can ruin your pens. If your rocks are dusty and you get a bunch of dust in the tip, it can dry out the paint like in your tip. The good thing about water-based paint pens or acrylic paint pens is you can take the tips out. I mean, obviously they have the packs here. You take the tip out and you can just rinse it off under warm water and just re-prime it just like it's a brand new pen. What is the last color we are going to do? Tammy, Janet, you are cool, cool. I almost wanted to do a gray monster. I have this gray here, and I think it might look kind of cool on the rock. And it covers really good. I'm very happy with that. Look at that. And people ask size, like what size of paint pens to get all the time from me. Like the first pack I bought was that multi-pack, and it did have medium-sized tips in it, or 5M tips. And I rarely used them. I would use them for something like this if I had them, but most rocks are too small to be able to use those on. All right, so now we got all those on. Now, when you're working with paint pens, it's easy to tell if they're dry because they still have a shine to them. Acrylic paint will look matte when it's completely dry. See how there's no shimmer to this at all? And see on this one, you can still see that kind of glossy look. See that? See the difference? So set them to the side. The biggest thing when doing a second coat is making sure the first coat is dry before you move along, okay? So we're gonna leave these ones up here, let them dry a little bit. And that's why I kind of bounce around a lot on these lives. I only do 1 tier 4. Hey, that works. That's totally fine. All right, so we're gonna go back in with our green, and I am gonna, felt like this was coming out. I'm gonna give this another little shake because it seemed like it was kind of coming out really a little bit different consistency than some of my other pens, so maybe I didn't shake it up quite enough. We're gonna add some little vines on our pumpkins. I always love to add little curly Q vines. And even if you're not doing the faces on your pumpkins, that's always a fun little addition you can do. So we're gonna get that flowing a little bit better. All right, so when you're doing your vines, you can kind of do them 1 of 2 ways. You can curl up and around, and usually when I go up, it goes off a tip, and this is really close to the edge of my rock here. I'm still gonna work it off that tip. I'm just gonna come right up and then back down, and then it's gonna come straight down and have a loop and then go off like that. And then on this one, if it's coming down, a lot of times I have it just kind of come down, and you can have it loop off that way. Then I always come back and I thicken up the top just a little bit of my stem, because it's how pumpkins usually, they're just a little bit thicker right where they attach, and it kind of gets a little bit more delicate at the end of those little curls, just like that. And again, you can leave them just like this if you want to. They are definitely still really cute. You can also come just down and give it a curl up like that. You don't have to add the actual curl to it, but I'm still going to thicken the very beginning of it. And this one will go, and you can have them go wild. If you've got a lot of extra space on your rock, that's a way that you can kind of fill up your space a little bit if you want to. Have it curl way up here and then hit the pumpkin and bounce off. Just play around with them. Use your rock, let it kind of tell you what space needs to be filled and how to fill it. Like this one, it's a long ways down, so the curl, I'm not going to get all the way down there to have my curl. And that one, there's like a little dent, so that's where I'm going to stop. And I know I talked about that before. With the extra fine tips, these are the ones you can see. It did splatter just the littlest bit there. These are the ones that can splatter because they're a little bit of a harder tip to them than like what we were using to do our monster faces. They're more of like a plastic sharp edge, and that's just so it can help keep that extra fine tip longer. So the lightest pressure that you can possibly use is what you want to do with these, okay? If you're pushing too much, too hard, A, you can cause your paint to splatter, but B, you can also make it kind of spill out a little bit. So if it is not just going right on your rock with the lightest pressure, then that means you need to come back over to your paper, give it a really good shake, and re-go at it. All right, so now all of our pumpkins have cute little vines. I'm afraid I'll overdo it. Oh, the vines, yeah. I always put on less, and then you can always come back and add more. I do that with lots of designs. If you guys follow along, you know that I say that a lot. Like, I'm just gonna leave it at this. We're gonna see how it looks, and then we can maybe come back. Now for these pumpkins, I always like to do like wide set eyes and a smile. I like to make them my little cute, happy pumpkins. You can line these as well. Now I've never used the extra fine tip one of these either. I did, not that I didn't trust, but I did get myself a 3-pack of the Posca extra fine. So I have these in the shop. Sold this. So that's how they show up. They just 3 black extra fine tips. This is the paint pen that I fly through the most of, because even when I'm using, even when I'm doing like acrylic, a lot of times if I'm going to do any lining, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it with an extra fine tip, some lining details and things like that. So I am going to use my new one here. It has a very, look at that, it has a very nice flow to it. It has a very nice pointy, sharp tip to it. So the way I like to do my eyes is I like to have them very wide set. Again, this is just my preference. You can do these any way you want to, but if you want the wide set eyes, I usually look for where that center oval was at. So if you follow where your stem attached, and you can even give yourself a little bit of the lining down. If you follow that kind of down on both directions, that's where I kind of like to put my eyes. Like that. And then you can kind of do the same thing on the bottom. You don't have to line all the way up. It almost looks like a smiley face there, but we're going to put the smile right here. Like that. And then you can line as much or as little as you want to on these. I am going to hold my breath and do the edges. that. And then this is not finished without the highlight at the end. You guys know. I am quick. Well, I don't think you guys really want to sit and paint with me for 5 hours either, right? I also have a lot of experience doing this, obviously. There we go. You can also make these eyes as big as you want to. You could do some really big ones. Maybe we'll do one with some really, really big eyes and see how that one looks. You will notice when I'm drawing straight lines though, that I cannot talk while I'm doing. I have to focus. Here, let's do this one with bigger eyes. Let's do big ones here. I will say the fact that this is the double-sided one, it's a fatter pen than like the extra fine tips. So I'm wondering if that will help with my hands. My hands get sore sometimes when I'm holding it because I grip really tight on the actual pen. And that kind of slowly starts to hurt. My hands are getting older. They get tight and stiff now. But I think this might actually help that a little bit. We'll do bigger ones on this guy too. It's funny because when you first put the eyes, it does look like a giant smiley face. We can add, I will line the stem. I'll show you how I do it. I don't actually outline the whole thing. And if you do outline the whole thing, after you have, go back over with green so that your line doesn't overwhelm the green. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But whenever I do batches, the easiest way for me to not mess up is to just do one step on each one at a time. They're so cute, you guys. I love these pumpkins. It looks like there's something on my... Does it look a little like cloudy there over here? Oh, maybe it's just out of focus. Okay, it just focused when I did that. Sorry if that was a little blurry for a little bit. Okay, I'll show you how I do lining if you want to add lining to your stem. So obviously the fat part's pretty easy. You just can kind of go right along. But the curl is where it can get a little complicated and you can end up with too much because you're literally matching line for line with the thickness. So just do your best to outline it, and then we're going to come back with the green if we need to thicken it up. The green. Now, if you don't like the idea of lining, one of the years I did like the ribbing just to give that definition, that's that little indent with just a complementary color. So like I did the dark purple and then maybe use like a pastel purple to create the lines, or vice versa. I think that's actually what I did. I think I did the pastel with the dark. Either way, if you can just use a second color and then you don't have that thick black, because you're right, if you've lined the bottom, it does kind of look a little off that you didn't do the top. Now here's also something I want to show you. With something curling like this, one part of that curl is technically going to layer in front of the other, and these are such little details that you do not have to worry about this, but if you want to worry about it, you can. So if we have a curl that's coming down like this, right, when I curled, this was in front. So when I fill in, this outline is actually gonna cut on top of that bottom part, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna do it here, but see what I mean? See how now we have a top and bottom of our curl? So if you're gonna line it, you can do that as well. So we're gonna decide. So if we went down like this, the downward one was under, this is over, so we're actually gonna cut across here. Wait, I messed that up. Well, I'll fix it when I do my green. So that's gonna come down, this would be over, so I'd cut here. So I'll just do a dab of green there. I'll fix that one. Let's do that again, make it make more sense. I'll even line it that way the first place. So if we're coming up like this, so on the cursive ones where we trace our cursive backwards, if that makes it easier, we'll do it that way. So if you start at the end and trace along your green, you're gonna cut over the top like that. And then curl in, you see that? Now it's like overlapping a little bit. And again, that's just like a little tiny detail that you don't have to do if it's overwhelming, but hopefully that makes sense. I'll bring that a little closer so you can see what I mean. You've done a lot of Halloween. If you follow along, it's all blurry. If you follow along, whoever said they were doing the Halloween stuff on Facebook, you can drop images on Facebook. And you see there, I'm gonna have to come back with a little green. That's an easy touch up. Don't even worry if you do that. And this one's gonna be an easy fix too. So let's do that again here. So we're gonna trace from the back, literally touching this as lightly as I can. And then I'm gonna come back with green right down the middle of this, and it will actually make my outline a little thinner. A little bump in this rock right there. So we're gonna take some touching up on these. But I kind of like to show you guys that as well, like how we always see finished rocks online and people don't see necessarily the mistakes people make. Okay. Two more. And I know you guys, if they've followed along before, you know, probably won't do all of every step on every single one. I'm kind of trying to wait for these monster rocks to dry. They're looking pretty close, so we're gonna probably hop back to that here in just a second. And then we'll come back and touch up our green on these when we're doing our eyes. You know what? I did all but one. I might as well finish. And if you're hanging out with us live here, I always upload the replay. Will be available if you can't stick around the whole time. These are very long. I try to remind myself not to rush. If you can stay, you can stay. If not, that's fine. And honestly, I'm painting these whether you guys are here or not. So that's why I started doing these lives for these. Figure if I'm going to be doing them, you can be hanging out while I'm doing them. Okay. All right. There we go. So now we're going to move these guys. Oops, sorry, I bonked you. Move these guys back over to the left here. Bring our monsters back center, and we are going to check out how well this white works. We're going to go right on top of these colors with some white. Only one of these that I really, this one definitely needs a second coat. This one probably too. This one looks pretty good. I don't mind having a little bit of strokes in there just because it's furry. So I don't like, that's okay. Like that doesn't bother me. But these ones just look a little bit. So we're gonna see how well a second coat goes on these. So going in for a second coat, make sure your paint pen is flowing. Like give it a couple pulses, make sure there's nothing in the tip, that it's coming out really good, okay? And I always like to lay the paint. You should not be pressing down super hard. Like you can barely even hear, listen. You can barely even hear me pressing because the paint is just flowing. You just let it lay on top. I think a lot of people use too much pressure and then they end up kind of disturbing. And you also kind of only want to hit each spot once if you can. Kind of work your way around because the paint underneath is not completely set. So once you add this layer of wet on top, it could actually kind of get a little loose again underneath it. So if you go back over that wet spot a couple times, then you're going to start pulling up that paint underneath. And then occasionally I kind of do one of these just in case that paint is drying enough to pull any dry paint into the nib. I am using kind of the side angle of this as well, just so that I'm covering more surface and I'm not using any pressure or that tip, just to do my best not to disturb the layer underneath. All right. There we go. So that's that guy. So we're gonna move him off to the side to dry. We're only probably gonna complete a couple monsters because I do want to get onto some of these other tutorials. So we're gonna pull out the white. We're gonna see how it does. Make sure it's flowing really well. Again, flowing really well. So for the monsters, you can do as many eyes as you want to. You can do a little one-eyed monster. Again, I'm using the side angle. Look at that. That was beautiful. Wow. You can do one with multiple eyes. These are monsters, right? There's no rules to monsters. I'm gonna give him 4 eyes. Okay. And we'll give this one. Oh, I wasn't gonna do that one. Oh well, it's fine. We're gonna give this one 3 eyes. And I was gonna do the white first because I thought maybe I'd need a second coat, but that covered fabulously. The Olympic rings were a challenge. I know, I had a hard time with that one. I did do a tutorial for that. And the Celtic knocks, somebody asked me to do a tutorial for that and I was like, nah. Sometimes I just don't like to, you know, make myself punish. That just seems really difficult. So now for our monsters, you got to give him a jawline. Now I like to make grumpy monsters, so I always have like that scowl, so it's kind of almost along the lines of a frown, just a sketchy line. Come through here, give him a little scowl like that. Doesn't have to be a huge scowl, just a little bit. Then we're also gonna do that sketchy kind of line just all the way around. Just kind of let the edging of your paint pens guide you, just wiggle, like almost tremor your hand a little bit, like don't overthink it. This is your chance to just let your hand rest and just bump your way around the outline. Even if you expose some rock or some of the color goes through with this style, super forgiving. This is one of our very first, I think the Grumpy Monsters actually came along before Halloween Rocks. You can do them two-toned. I've done them two-toned before where the bottom part of the mouth was a different color. You do want to leave a little bit of space above his mouth line because we're going to add some teeth on here, but that white went on so well I wasn't too worried about doing it for the second coat. Normally I do all the white stuff so that it can dry for a second coat. All the way around. And I'll finish up those other Grumpy Monsters in a little bit. We're gonna just do a few here for now. So let's use the other side of our white here. Make sure that's flowing well. Make sure our black is dry. I don't want to pull, I actually might give those a second. I'm gonna slow my roll a little bit on that. Let's finish the pumpkins real fast, because that way we actually have 5 finished rocks. Only took us almost an hour to do it, right? Give or take. We didn't start right away. All right, so I'm gonna pull back out my green that I was using for my stems. Where's that one we really messed up on? This guy here. So I'm gonna retrace my stem, and I am gonna work my way backwards. And it will kind of thin out your outline a little bit and make it a little less clunky down where it's nice and delicate. You don't need it to be as fat. There we go. See how that fixed? Really super easy to fix that. You see how it kind of gives that layered look? If you're gonna line it, it just kind of brings it together a little bit. This one got away from me here. I'm gonna fill that in. There we go. All right, and this guy. And again, if you're leaving stripes, like if this, you know, I'm doing a second layer, if that's gonna change the color, go with the pattern, like don't color it in this way, because that's not how it would look. If it dries and it's kind of got a variation, excuse me. If it dries and it has a variation, you want that variation to go with like how it naturally would look. Okay. And the other ones need it. Yep, this guy. I got real wild on this one. But that's also another way, like if you don't like a super thick outline, you can always go right back over that black and get rid of some of that thickness. White and screen good for you here. Okay. So this one, let's follow it backwards. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, the last thing to do with these guys is give them a little highlight. Now, if you've got the bigger eyes, we can double dot. If you got a little eye, you can do a single dot, or you can try to fit a double dot in there. It's whatever you guys, again, preference, your preference. It's not my preference. It's just a jumping off spot for you guys. So if you've got a big eye like this, you can do a double dot. Now, when I double dot, I do not wiggle. Don't wiggle in a circle on top of the black. You're gonna just dot in the same place. Like 1, 2, like that, and then one single one, like that, okay? 1, 2, boom, like that. If you try to wiggle it, it's never gonna end up a circle. You're just gonna keep making it bigger and bigger, trying to make it into a circle. If you're gonna do a single dot, this one, boop, and boop. Sound effects optional, obviously. And you try to get it in the same corner, because the highlight's always going to be coming from one side, okay? So you don't want to have the highlight in the upper right hand corner and then an upper left hand corner unless you're going for a stylized version. Obviously you can do whatever you want, but this one I did really small eyes. But just a rule of thumb, I mean, that's the light. It's going to be coming from one side. Now you can also come back and add pink cheeks to these if you want to add pink cheeks to these. I'm not going to today because I like this kind of moody color scheme we got going on here, and I don't want to bring a different kind of color palette into it. But those ones are finished. We have 5 done. Well, so we got 96 to go. Ooh. But like I mentioned over on Facebook, we are going to be doing this every Tuesday. I think my goal is to do 20 rocks a week. I'm gonna bounce between designs a lot to try to get through quite a few. I won't finish necessarily all of them during the live, but we'll get the gist of them done. Let's actually pull out and start our flowers, our skull flowers. Because my whites on my eyes that went on really super smooth, but it is a little bit thick and it still looks a little bit light. I could go in and do my teeth real fast though, because I need those to dry to do the lining. So let's do that. So for the teeth, they can go up or down or both ways, okay? So again, same with the eyes. You can do as many teeth as you want. You can do them however you want. You can have like a huge one in the middle, you know, one coming this way, one coming that way. They don't have to be straight. And we're gonna line these when we're done too, and that will make them nice and pointy. We're gonna do one over here, maybe one over here going down. That lip got away from me a little bit over here, so we're gonna turn that into, that's why, because that weird tooth is over there. And you can give them a little bit of a curl to the tooth too, like whatever. Okay, so that's that. This guy, I'm gonna do one up here. Maybe we'll do two on this side. Maybe two on this side. And we're gonna come back and line the mouth as well at the end. So go right on to the black so that there's not any green between your black and your white. Very happy with the extra fine tip white. I'm just to put out there. If you've kind of joined in late or just popping in now, it's the first time I've used these. So, okay. What were we doing next? We've got our skull flowers, and then I've got these boo rocks that I want to do as well. I think maybe I'll do half and half on these, and not quite half and half. Let me get my, let's do, so you can kind of see how they look on both, because I'm not really exactly 100% sure on how I'm going to do them. So let's do color of flowers. Should we do the same flowers as we did as our pumpkins? I think I'm going to do that. So let's do, so first thing you need a circle. Now these are white rocks, so obviously the circle's not a huge deal, but just to give yourself something to build around. And as you can see, these rocks, they're light, they're not that white. You do need big enough space because we're going to put an eyes and a mouth. If anybody saw these last year, let's do 1, 2, that's not really a good shape for that. I think this one would be better for a boo rock. Look at that, B-O-O, looks perfect for a boo rock. See, I'm going to show you why I'm flipping and turning my rocks. If you're going to do a rock, like, so this one would stand up like and lean. I always think, like, if a kid takes a rock home, they're going to want to, if I try to stand this up, even if it's leaning, it's going to fall. It sits this way better. So that's why I turned that one that way. Now this one has like a little bit of a broken bottom, so that's going to stand up. This one has kind of a flat bottom. So if you ever notice me spinning my rocks like that, that's all I'm doing, is I'm trying to find which way, to me, the design should go on the rock. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think these ones are going to look good for the boo rocks. So let's just do the last one. Make like a really wide flower on this one. Okay. And then for the boo rocks, same with flipping it over. So sometimes if you have these flat rocks, Now I want it to say boo, so I want this side, I want the B to probably either be able to be capital or lowercase, but I want to have the thickness to the left, because to me, if you're writing a word, going skinny to big is going to be strange. So, all right. So for those, not sure what color I want to do my letters for these. So this is kind of what I'm going for. This is what I was going to do, is these fun like eyes that are kind of, you know, a little spooky, saying boo. I think what I might do is whatever letter I use for the B, or whatever color I use for the B, I might do a thin lining around the eyes so that it kind of all flows together, but the eyes are going to be white. That's what I'm going to do. So I think I'm going to actually be using the double tipped pens for those, because that way I can do a thick B, and then I can flip and do the lining, the outlines for the eyes. So I've got a few different shapes that I was gonna do for eyes. See, so like I've got big googly eyes, they're tilted in the top together. These ones have kind of a little bit of an arch at the top. These ones are a little flat. So just, you can play around with the shape of the actual eyes themselves. And you can also do a capital B or a lowercase b, depending on what you think fits on the rock really well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go for it, guys, because this one is literally, I have not done this on a rock yet. So I'm just gonna go B and do this one nice and big. O. We're gonna do the simplest one first, okay? Now I am gonna make my B thicker. So I'm just gonna kind of trace along my B to make it a little bit wider. And I guess I went ahead and used the thick one to go around my eyes anyways. And maybe we'll do an outline around the rock as well, but I'm not jumping there quite yet. Let's just do the same colors we did for our monsters. How about that? So maybe for these smaller ones, I'll have to do the lining with that. So let's do that. We'll start with the extra fine tip over here just to write it, and then I'll go with my thicker one to fill it in. So this one, let's do these downward slanting eyes. So can you see what I'm, all these rocks? So yeah, we're gonna do kind of this downward tops to the eyes like that. And then we're gonna go out to the side. And then we can kind of make our O or B kind of fit with those. I am gonna flip because I'm trying to preserve. The whole point of buying these was so that I'm not constantly doing stuff with my extra fine tip that I should be doing with a thicker paint pen. Okay. And let's see here. So we did purple, green, running out of space, blue. This one has a couple holes in it, so I'm going to be very careful to make sure that I avoid those. See how they have a couple divots? You can just work around those when you see them in your rock, just to make sure that you're not going to, like, you don't want your line to go right into that hole. So let's do the ones that are kind of tilted here, and we're going to work right in between these, kind of like this. And we're going to make these ones pretty big. We'll do a really big B here in this one because this is a nice size rock. Okay, now I'm going to go back with my thicker side on the B. Okay, so what's my other colors that I had here? Gray and orange. So you can also do kind of a flat top eye. Did I do those yet? These ones were angled. This is going to be like a little bit more of like a, it's not completely flat, just like a flattened circle. I'm going to do a lowercase b on this one. And I'm using sketchy lines because I'm going to come back in and add some sketches underneath them. I'm going to line these a little bit as well. So I'm just getting them on here. There we go. Oop, I don't know if the ends matter. They both look the same. Okay. And then see, like this one, I'm going to flip it so because this way it's kind of, either way it actually works, but I like the wide to the left. So just kind of keep those are just little things to keep in mind. Okay, so orange. I'm just going to do this one kind of back at that basic googly eyes. And we'll do, how many, we got kind of both. This one I think I can fit a good capital. And we're gonna work our way through this design. I have not actually done this on a rock. All I have is it on the Post-it. So I like to incorporate some color. I didn't want them to just be white and black, so. All right, we're gonna set those to the side and then we're gonna fill those in a minute. Let's do our flower petals. Those we're gonna use these guys over here. Now, when you're doing your flower petals, you can do however many petals you want. I will suggest though, when you're doing your petals, to have a spot where they break so that you can have a stem. If it's easier for you to give yourself a stem first so that you can avoid a stem, go ahead and give yourself a line. And that way you can have them split there. That way you're not trying to struggle on how you get your stem into your flower. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on these. Just kind of, we'll thicken that, add a leaf later, but for now we're just giving it a stem. Okay. And then you can section them out ahead of time if you want to. Like you can pretend that's one line, you break apart. So now we would have 4 petals, and you can break those in half like that. And now you're gonna have 8 petals. And then you can come in and attach them. And again, I like to rotate my rock so that my motion is similar. That's not necessary. Look at that one, kind of got over. I'm gonna move that one over. They don't need to be perfect. Because when we fill them in, you can kind of zhuzh them around. See, like this guy looks a little small. We're gonna fill these in solid anyways. So as long as the outside edge is kind of where you like it, that's when you're good to go, okay? So we're just gonna go around our center here. And then we can fill in each petal. And again, if you're coming in a little bit later, oh, all right, Donna, thanks for popping in. The replay will be up here on Facebook, on YouTube. Well, I'll share it to Facebook too. So again, if you're coming in, if you have extra fine tip, if you're filling in spaces, hold it slightly to the side. It will take you a lot less time to fill in, and you can save the tip of your paint pen when you're doing it this way. Now you notice I'm not going all the way to the side, and that's only because I can't control it in that direction to see exactly where I'm at. So I'll just come back and do that side after, because I can control where the tip is, but I can't really control the back end of it. Although that does look kind of cute. Almost like a little highlight. So do a couple of these so I could show you a couple different variations, at least outline all of the flowers. Right, so now that I'm all the way around, I'm gonna flip and go back this way. That way I can see where my tip is hitting. And you could put more than one of these on a rock too. Like this one has a little bit of extra space that I could come back and add a second one. We're not going to do that right now though, just because I want to get through these. Okay, so we got our petals on there. I'm going to show you a different way you can do them here. I've got this wider rock. So if you got a wide rock, you can do these like almost like a daisy style. So if you come all the way out to the side like this, you can even fill them as you go. So you feel the sides can go really, really wide like that. And then as you come closer, you're gonna taper in just a little bit. And it kind of looks like it's faced kind of forward. And lining will come into play here a little bit too. When you get to the bottom, it'd be nice and short. Like that, and then the same along the top. You're gonna have probably one more that's pretty far out there, but the top is gonna kind of taper in as well. Kind of working my way in from both sides. Like that. I am going to line around this with black, so I don't know why I'm doing this, but there we go. All right, so it could be like that. Let's see here, we can do this guy's cute. Let's do this little pink one. Where's my pink? I didn't do this color yet, did I? No. Okay, you could also do just very freehand. Again, if you're going to freehand, I like to have the split kind of right at the stem there. And just kind of work your way around. When you're getting close, that's when you're going to decide, am I fitting one petal there or two? I'm going to go with one kind of fatter petal, and then I can make this one over here just a little bit wider. And then once they're all on there, then you can kind of come and adjust and just kind of make it pleasing to your eye. We're also going to thicken up that stem a little bit. All right, that's enough of the flowers for now. Let's finish our monsters. Let's get at least, we're gonna be up to 8 rocks here in just like a second. So back to our extra fine tip on our monsters. Make sure it's flowing well. Okay, we are gonna outline our eyes, add pupils, and outline our teeth. Again, the lightest pressure possible will get you the thinnest line possible. And if you need to see on the bottom, I actually went over just a little bit. You have a question, Tammy? I see a question marks, but I don't see a question. Did I miss a question? All right, and then for the pupils, you can make them big, you can make them small, you can make them like beady. I'm going to kind of go a little in between on this guy. You can have them all looking in the same direction. You can have them cross-eyed. And then I also like to give them eyebrows. And for grumpy monsters, I always make them kind of going downward. But if you have one in the middle, he can be kind of unibrow in the middle, like that. 6 done. Oh, okay. This one I'll do little tiny beady eyes, all looking kind of up to the right, like that. Eyebrows really bring the grumpy. Oh, they're so cute. All right. I'm going to give him one giant pupil. Now, if you only have one, my daughter's the one that came up with this. She kind of did this V-shaped eyebrow on her one-eyed monster. I don't know if that was last year she was painting with me or the year before. I think it was last year. She'll probably help me out with some of these rocks. All right, now he's got a really big pupil, so I might actually come back and add a little highlight in that later. But maybe not. Maybe monsters wouldn't really have highlighted eyes. All right, 3 monsters done. So we're up to 8 rocks, guys. All right, let's work on these boos. So I'm gonna do one on each rock here. We're gonna fill in our eyeballs with our white. Actually, I think I'll fill in all the eyeballs. That won't take very long. Fill them all in white. Am I too low? Nope. And these ones are super quick. So I do love a quick design. And you could base coat the whole rock for these too if you didn't like them on the white. Where's my last one? Here it is. Okay. All right, we'll let those might need a second coat. Flowers, flowers, flowers. We'll at least get 3 flowers done. Let's see, where'd our green go? All right, for our flowers, they've got to live someplace. I always like to give them a little bit of grass. So just kind of give it a line along the bottom. You can give it a couple little wispy lines just to kind of give it some texture. You can make your stem a little thicker if you want to. You can add a leaf if you want to. There's lots of different styles of leaves you can do too. These are non-existent real flowers, so they don't have any walls. This green is a little bit dark on this rock. I don't know if there was this. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. And I do want these faces to be very white, so I'm actually going to come in and add a little bit more white on this one. Make sure I'm flowing good here. Since they're going to be skeletons, we want them to be white. I'll do a second coat on this one, might have it out. Well, it looked pretty good, but while I'm doing it, all right. Okay, so for our skeleton faces, we are super simple. You got 2 done, Tammy. Which ones did you do so far? Pumpkin and monster? I mean, those are the only ones I'm completely finished with. All right, we're gonna do the lining for this guy. Now, you could do your skeleton eyes however you want to. I kind of like to do them fairly similar to kind of like that look. They're just a little bit ovals. How do I want to? They're kind of to the side. Is that how I did them last time? Maybe a little pointed at the top. A little wider at the bottom. So, oop, there's a little fuzzy or something on there. Start with your eyes smaller. You can always make them bigger. Almost. These ones are a little bit kind of like rounded tipped teardrops. And then for the mouth, I like to do a big smile and then just add the lines through it. However many fit comfortably. The bigger the flower you have, it's going to look a little bit different. Yes, okay, I guessed right. And then once you've got that done, if your petals are dry, you can go ahead and line those. And I don't like to try to do all the way around all the time. You can do it in 2 strokes towards the tip if that's easier. I'm just going to give a little line downward for my stem. And in my grass, I usually just add a couple hashes with the black. I'm not going to try to outline grass blades. That's doing too much. And now I'm marching all the way around, so I guess I don't follow my own advice all the time. If there's a rough spot, it's sometimes, see, like that's bumpy, so it's easier for me to kind of stop there instead of going through. Okay. Those eyes just a smidge. And then I like to dash and dot. This is definitely something that you do not have to do, but I think it adds just a little cute factor. And we will come back and add highlights in the eyes once that black dries. And I did overshoot the stem just a little bit here, so I'm just gonna touch that up while I'm thinking about it. Okay. So the white in the center of mine here is still pretty wet, so I'm going to do the petals here first. And I'm gonna wait on the white on that one because it's still showing pretty wet there. Same with the white on this one, but we're just gonna get some of these lining then. That way they won't take very long to come back and finish up. If I don't finish all of these on the live, I will finish them all today and drop a picture of them all done. I know there's a community tab here on YouTube I can leave it on, and I'll also leave it over on Facebook as well. The outer edges of my circle seem really nice and dry. Again, if you're not sure, if you tilt to the side, if you can see any shimmer, like a glossiness to it, that's still wet paint. All these paint pens, they're acrylic, so they're gonna dry matte. So if you're seeing a shine, that's still wetness, it's still damp. There we go. All right, let's do a boo. See how we pull this together here. So I wanted to do, I think I'm gonna actually, I'm debating if I wanna do colors in the eye, like the color of the eye, and then have a black pupil. I think I wanna do that. But I'm not sure. You're stuck in my, let me double coat these first while I think about that. You've got 8 done, 4 pumpkins, 4 monsters, 6 to go. Nice, look at you go. Good job, Janet. I love that. Now, are you watching up on TV? I know on YouTube you can stream to the TV, so it can be nice and big. Oh, that second coat's such a big difference on these. Tammy, it's not a competition. I'm just glad you guys are painting with me. It makes it fun to know that you guys are painting along. Sometimes when I do these lives, I think, oh, these are so long for people to be hanging out if they're not actually painting along, because it takes a while to get from start to finish when it's live. I mean, I edit these videos down to these little 3-minute tutorials, and sometimes I feel like, hopefully that's not discouraging that you see it done so fast. Now you can see in real time, like, they take me even a good amount of time, and I've been doing it for years. Oh, you're on the phone. Yeah. The queen of the big batches. Yes. Batching rocks. That's what it's about. Just kind of slowly bouncing around. That's why I bounce around between so many different things when I'm doing the rocks, so that while something's drying, I can be working on something else all the time. It's like, why I have the white out, I might as well do this. Why I have it out, I should do that real quick. Okay, so those are gonna have to dry. Let's put some eyeballs on these. I think I'm gonna leave this monster. I actually don't mind it. Actually, I did the second coat on this anyways. I think it's fine. So let's just give some eyeballs. We're gonna do like a weird, small, medium, large on this one. And on this guy, let's just do like a super standard 2 eyes. Or is that too boring? I feel like maybe that's too boring. I don't know. We'll start with 2. You can always add more. All right, so how many do we have done? We have, these are 8 finished, 8. This doesn't have a highlight yet. We're close on this one. That one doesn't have a face. That one doesn't have a face. This one still looks wet. Let's do the outlines on these monsters while we're waiting for other things to dry. Can always be doing something here. say, who's Dixie? I'm glad you've been following along that long. It's wild that it's been that long that we've been doing this, to be honest. Sometimes it's like crazy to think back. When I run into older tutorials, I'm like, oh my gosh, how was this 5 years ago, 6 years ago? And I know so many people have started joining more recently, so it's like I gotta reshare this one because it's so fun, and it was one of the first tutorials. Like we'll do a lot of the originals. That's why I'll probably do 3 ones we've had in the past, and the goal is to have at least one new design every time that we're doing the tutorials or the lives. So just so you're tracking, we're gonna do it at the same time every Tuesday. I'm trying to do 20 rocks a week, so it'll be about 5 weeks, and then depending on how life and schedule is going, I might hop on the following week and we can I'll kind of seal them and show them off a little bit for those that didn't get to actually watch a lot of the lives. All right, so we'll let those go. Okay, I don't think I want to add color in the eyes on these. Are these dry? Not quite. Is this one dry? Not quite. What's dry? What can I work on here? This one's not quite dry. I guess we're going to add petals on these. Nothing else. The white second layer is taking a little bit longer to dry. So let's add some petals on these flowers. So let's just do this one with some really big chunky petals. We're going to go 5 large petals. So if you have an idea of how many you want, like, so for splitting here, and if you want an odd amount, that means the center or the split would be the center of this one. Okay, so then we're going to go on either side of that and make a big petal. Okay, and then we're going to have 2 about that size here. And since we're filling these in, if you get the general idea on here, you can always zhuzh them around a little bit while you're filling them in. That's pretty good. Go through here, start filling in. Just peeked the clock. My goal here today was to keep it, and most of them last year right around the two hours or so that we're painting on here. When people ask, I can actually tell them, oh, because they're, oh, how long did they take you to paint? I never know what to say. But since I'm going to do them all live, I'll have a better idea if I actually pay attention. We're going to bounce around and get at least one of every single one finished, and then depending on the time, I'll finish them up for those that are sticking around and painting with me. But that way, those of you that are just trying to catch one of each rock can go on with their day. Eyelids on the boo rocks. Ooh, that's a good idea too. Yeah, I'm trying to, it's funny, like in my mind, I'm thinking of those stickers you used to have, like that you could mix and match faces. So I was trying to think of all the different stickers. I might do eyelids on one of mine. Make it where you like build the faces with the stickers. What's the other one we're missing here? We've got 1, 2, we have the yellow, orange, an orange flower. Start down here by my stem. I don't know, like this orange. It's gonna need another coat. Ugh. And I did it on the dark rock. I should have done the orange on a light rock, but we're gonna make it work. Overall though, I'm very, very happy with the pens, and I'm sure some of you guys do. Anybody here follow Jessica Rocks here? YouTube, Facebook. She helps moderate the rock painting tutorials group with me. She's amazing. She does really fun, super accessible tutorials. She's very much a style that I really like, and she's very, very fun to watch. She uses Thule pens, and she told me she's had some for years now, because that's always my thing. You can buy pens and they can be fantastic when you first get them, but if they stop working, you know, after a couple months, that's pretty disappointing. But she said she's had hers for years, and I definitely trust her. If you don't follow her on her, you'll have to go find her page, go give her a follow. She's been at it for quite some time now as well. It's very shiny. Okay. Again, if you go back, just pull your strokes the way that it would make sense if it's not completely filled in. So with your petals, you don't want to be going this way, you'd be going this way. All right. You do awesome. Oh yes, send them over on Facebook. Okay, I think we can do, let's do another face here on these guys. They look dry enough for faces. Yes, all three. Oh, this one's a little wet in the center, but I can at least do 3 of the 4 faces here. All right. Again, start with smaller eyes. You can always make them bigger. You want to have enough space for your mouth. And when I'm done, I'm going to go post over on Facebook for others to be able to come and check out the replay. And if you guys take pictures of the rocks you painted, you can drop them in the comments there. I would love, 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 love to see them. I'm going to come back with my white. I got a little bit far off there. So I'm going to dash and dot. Okay. And we can put our highlights on our last one so we have a finished one. Let's do that. If anybody's waiting for the final touch on this guy, come in with our extra fine tip. Same thing. You can do 1, you can do 2. If it's big enough to do 2, you can do 2. If it's too, you feel like you're smushing it in. If you mess it up significantly, just let it dry. You can come back and redo the eyes very easily. Black is going to cover white really well. You can also use dotting tools for these. I'm pretty sure I did dotting tools for these when I did them the first time. I haven't had an extra fine tip white in a long time. So I'm just touching up the edges of my white because I kind of spilled over a little bit. And that one's done. Add it to the done side. All right. Getting somewhere. Okay, so this one just did the black, This one I can do the lining. This one I cannot do face. Okay, let's do a real quick second coat on these eyeballs. And let's do our boos. We're just going to go for it. Still feel a little unsure what I'm doing with those. Again, with the second coat, try only to hit each spot once. You don't want to go back and forth over it because you could pull up that paint underneath once it gets wet. I might just do the pupils in the color. Why am I having such a hard time with this? Perfect. I can't see them right now. I have no way to get to my Facebook while I'm doing all the live, but I will check them out for sure. All right, so I did want to have kind of that underlying kind of stuff under the eyes to kind of give them that kind of creepy look to them. And I think I'm going to do the pupils in the color of the rock, like that. Maybe some eyebrows. Do I want to add eyebrows? I might just do like a scruffy edge, cashy, all the way around the outside. I don't think I'm going to add black to this one at all. I think I like it like this. Super sketchy. I'm going to line them a little bit darker now that I know, or thicker now that I know that I'm not doing black. Oh, I like that. Yay! All right. Orange. There you go. Ooh, is it focused? I can't see if it's in focus because I'll tell you, the delay is kind of crazy. And now I know it's sort of in focus. All right. And then for this one, we're going to do eyeballs that are kind of looking up. And I'm going to give him kind of like, I know this isn't red, but I'm still going to do it with the orange, like kind of some veining. And I might come back with the white to tighten those lines up a little bit. Hopefully this dries fast enough for me to show you that. Okay, and I'm going to do this wispy. I'm like trying to like not touch the rock almost. Like that's how wispy I'm working with these edges like this. Just gives it almost like a tethered, weathered look, which I just think works well with Halloween stuff. Just kind of gives it a little bit more of a finish. Ooh, I like that one. Like. Okay, I like doing them in the colors. I was worried that black was going to become too bold and it would drown out the color, and I didn't want to outline the actual like letters. You still see that one? Did I put too far? There we go. And these are going to come together quick. They did take some dry time in between, but they definitely are easy. Eyelids. If I did eyelids, I think I would cover, maybe I'll do eyelids on the one that I did here. We'll see. Now, since this one's a little bit more round, I'm just going to use my pinky along the edge, and I'm just going to pull like this to kind of give myself an upper edge to it, because there's not technically a flat edge like there is on the white one. So I'm just using my pinky as a guide to kind of keep me on the upper portion of the rock. Be careful not to put your fingers in your paint as you're doing that. And I'm also going to do a second round. I'm be very careful here because it is a little bit wet. Just because it is a bigger rock. Sometimes I really just like these rocks that are semi-exposed, like you can still see the rock, but you could do this on a white rock, black, base coated rock, whatever. You could also add you could do eyebrows on these too, like whoop. His expression to me needs eyebrows. I'm gonna make them a little bushier. I just put my finger right in my wet paint. I just told you guys not to do that. There we go. There we go. I like that. He needs angry eyes, I think, too. Now that I did those eyebrows, he needs like the downward eyebrows. Okay. So let's see here. I'm going to come back. Let's see if that's dry. That looks dry. Okay. So what I'm going to do, because the veining on an eye is not really thick, and this came out a little thicker than I wanted it to look like, but that's okay. You can come back with your white and you can thin it up. So just take your time. and just cover part of that orange. And if you have to do 2 coats to get it covered well, you can. But that way you can leave these kind of thin, almost like bloodshot eyes, but with the orange, because that's the color of the stone. See what a big difference that makes? It makes it so much better to have them thinner. I didn't want to pull out my itty bitty brushes or anything for that. I'm gonna round off the bottom of the eye here. There. All right, done pile, donezo. Let's see here, that guy, his not done. I'm gonna start rotating things that are not done off to the side over here. So done, 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 done. Let's do these guys. So if we're doing eyelids, I could do eyelids on this one because I kind of did them slanted. They almost look like they have eyelids on them anyways. We're gonna add those on. I like the idea of doing some eyelids. Like I'm looking really super sleepy for some reason. I don't know why I wanted to do that kind of look. And I don't think he necessarily needs eyebrows. This one doesn't seem like it needs it to me the same way. Neither does that one. All right, blue. How are we doing? Oh, 10 minutes or so. Let's see here with these ones. We're going to do here, kind of beady in the middle. Like that. It's so funny how it can change the eyes so much where you put your pupils. Let me do a little, like worried, like, oh. These ones really came together quick once I figured out what I wanted to do. Thanks for being patient while I worked through that. I really do like how those come out. That bee needs a little bit of work to it though. Okay. All right. Let's see, where are we at? What can we finish up? Let's see if we can finish these guys. 1, 2. This one needs its dashes and dots. This one's close to being ready. So let's, sorry, my throat's starting to get dry, so I'm gonna have to wrap up here. Hopefully by next week, this little cold will be gone. Dash and dot this guy. You dash and dot that. Let's do these guys. I don't even see here. I probably could have done a second coat on these, but this one, but I just, it'll be fine. Once all the details are on, sometimes it's not as noticeable as you might think. This one doesn't even have grass yet though. Neither does the other one. Finish that one. Just like this little stripe on this rock. Oh, I'm glad you like them, Tammy. So, you know, I have my doodles, and maybe if you stick around to the end, they're over on my desk. I'll show you some of the other doodles I've been working on for this year, ideas of things that I can do that are new. Along with obviously a lot of the classics, a lot of the favorites are going to make it into the lives as well. If it's all new stuff, it takes me too long. You see how long those boos took for me to get it together. But I didn't want to paint them ahead of time because I'm painting them all with you guys. So outline this flower. Okay, dash and dot. Okay, align this. This actually, the green dried really fast. And I'm just outlining it anyways. It's not really that big of a deal if it's just a little bit. Okay, so all that one needs is highlights, highlights, highlights. This one. Okay, outline our flowers. Let's see, how are we doing? We're doing pretty good on time. I think I'll finish them all up here. My wrist is starting to get a little bit tender, so my whole theory about the thicker pen is only partially true. You will find sometimes, like when you are layering the paint, the second layer can take longer to dry just because it's not getting absorbed by the rock at all. Like when you're working right on the rock, that rock is soaking in some of the paint, and that's why that first layer will dry so much faster than, say, when you do like a second layer. All right, we got to put some teeth on these monsters. They don't have any teeth yet. Let's just do like big gnarly one over here. Going up. And maybe one big gnarly one over here going down. And then maybe a little baby one to each side. There we go. Okay. Let's do their eyebrows and outline their eyes. Remember, our monsters are grumpy, so downward eyebrows. Okay. I'll do the, I won't wait super long on doing the outlines on those teeth just because I'm not actually going to paint over them. I just want to make sure. A lot of times your edge will dry a little bit faster than the center of things when you're filling them in. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and take care of those. done. All right, done. All right, we're wrapping them up, guys. I'm just gonna finish the dots on these flowers. I will share my little doodles with you guys here. Actually, let me get the doodles first because they still look just a little bit damp. Okay, so we've got a couple things. All right, so we're gonna have, we did do a Happy Halloween dangle at one point in time. I am going to do like a boo dangle type. This is a very rough sketch, obviously, but some sort of boo dangle. Somebody had mentioned we have the ghosts that hold things. Somebody mentioned a poison apple. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a poison, just the poison apple rock of sorts. So I've got that as one. I also thought it'd be fun to dress up our cute pumpkins. Now these are very rough sketches, obviously, but we could do like little designed pumpkins. And then I also had some lettering. I always like to do some lettering ones. So like a trick or treat in cursive, like a hey beautiful type one in cursive. So who knows which ones. You love the poison apple? I'll put that one on top. I think that's going to be really fun. I think you can do them with red apples, with like green dripping off. We could do green apples with like a glossy purple dripping off. I think those are going to be really fun to do. And we're going to do 5 of them, just like everything else. So those are just some of the ideas of things that you can look forward to over these next few weeks of doing all these rocks. But we are almost done. I'm literally going to double dot these eyes, and then we're going to be done. We got 20. We did 20 rocks. So I hit my goal. So I'm happy about that. Trying to keep a good pace so that I'm not rushing at the end, because my wrist really does start hurting after a while. All right, there we go. So let's double dot these. These ones are really little. I'm going to do the single dot on those because they're pretty small. And again, if you double dot for the first one, and then put one next to it. And if you mess them up, let it dry completely, covered in black, and do it again. Like that one. I'm going to have to fix that one. I'm not going to be able to do that on the live, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry completely. Just recolor it black, and then let that dry completely, and then recolor it. But if you dot in the same spot twice, 1, 2, it just makes the dot a little bit wider for you so that you kind of have that double dot to it. You can add noses on your skeletons. I don't remember if I did noses last time or not. I'm not adding them on these because we're done, and I'm going to take it as a finish. I'm going to pull all these rocks. You can see all the rocks together. 14, Janet, that is amazing. Good job. Bedtime for you now. Oh my goodness. I'm just getting started no, not really just started, but got a lot left of our day here. See how many of them I can actually fit in here. But for all of you guys that joined in live today, thank you. If you're watching the replay, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Let's see how many I can actually get in the screen. There we go. There we go. 20 down, 81 to go. So hopefully you can join me again next week, and we'll keep at it. Bye-bye.